Good afternoon and welcome back to day 4. We are live at Ali Pali for hopefully another great day of Masters snooker, and my goodness, 4 incredible players all on the match table at some stage today. Mark Selby, 2 times champion of the world, current world champion, current world #1, current UK champion, up against 2 times champion of the world, Mark Williams. That's the game we're going to concentrate on this afternoon. And then we're back tonight for Shaun Murphy against Barry Hawkins, all live right here on Eurosport. Yeah, hello, good to see you again, and welcome back to a tournament that just seems to get better and better, as does the analysis from Jimmy and Neil, which is why we've invited them back on the sofa. Boys, good to see you again. And it really is a tournament that's getting better and better. Neil, I'll start with you. I mean, there's something about the Masters, and that was confirmed yesterday with Marco Fu against Judd Trump. A fantastic game. I think it's fair to say probably match of the tournament so far.
Oh, absolutely. You do go a long way to see something better than that. The standard was just unbelievable. I mean, in 11 frames, 14 breaks over 50. That means there's a number of frames where there's been a couple of clearances and all of that. You know, this was Judd. Some of his cue ball control I thought was immaculate. And, you know, he shouldn't be too disappointed. You know, he lost it to someone who just played better somehow. I think that despite getting beat, if he's watching now, Judd Trump, I reckon he's got a really big win coming up at some point soon, because there's nothing wrong with this game. You know, in the end, Jimmy, Marco was just a little bit too strong and a bit lucky in the last.
Well, I agree. You know, it was just a phenomenal match. You know, like, you see Fu doubling that red and he managed to pinch that game, and Trump pinched a few frames, but that was a fantastic red in the last game. Shot for nothing, but still had to be get.
Jimmy, what is it about the Masters that makes it just there or thereabouts with the best there is? Because Judd Trump said earlier on in the week that he rates it higher than he does the UK Championship, which is weird, I think.
Well, it's probably just as hard to win. Even the UK Championships used to be more frames. It's now the same, best of 11. I think it's so special because it's the top 16 players in the world. I think it's the second biggest prize money. And everyone gets up for the great venue. It's the only tournament in the capital, so yeah. I think that's the reason.
And Neil, I'm guessing the history of an event has a lot to do with it as well, and this one has got probably as much as any other in the calendar.
Well, you know, if you pick your 10 great Masters moments, you know, it would have been what we saw in '84 when Jimmy won that game with Kirk Stevens, and, you know, all of the great finals, even the one with Ronnie and you know, Steve Davis, where the streaker was on the on the playing area for a while. All those things that you remember, you know, and we're getting some good memories this year. And he's right, it's lucrative. It's 200 grand for the winner as well, and it's the elite. So it is a top-notch event, this one.
I thought you'd remember that streaker. A quick reminder, if you want to ask Neil or Jimmy any questions, feel free on social media. Use the hashtag #AskJimmy. A quick look at the draw, because there's only 2 places up for grabs in the last 8. And ironically, whoever wins this afternoon will meet the winner of tonight's match. We're going to concentrate on that one a bit later on. Of course, we'll be looking ahead in just a moment to Williams against Mark Selby. And actually, we can hear from Mark Selby now, because here he's explaining what it would mean to him to hold all 3 majors at the same time.
Put my name in history of being a multiple champion. That was one of my aims after winning it for the first time, and I managed to achieve that last year. I mean, the Selby Slam sounds good, but I mean, it only sounds good if I go on and win at the end of the week. So fingers crossed I'll play well, and who knows, let's see in a few days.
Yeah, this is the head-to-head, but I think all that goes out the window. Mark Selby, for my money, the toughest player to beat on the circuit. He's current world #1. He's been there now for just over 100 weeks. And I think if you beat him, you deserve to win this competition. Both players, of course, have been practicing this morning. Neil, I'll start with you and get your views on Mark Selby. We know he's 2 times champion of the world, world #1, world champion as well. He's played in the Masters 9 times before. He's won it 3 times. He's got to 5 finals in total, and even his C game is difficult to beat. When he's not firing on all cylinders, he is still so tough to beat, isn't he?
Very tough to beat. It almost goes unnoticed that he actually won the Masters on his debut here. People remember Hendry doing that and winning it the next 4 years. He won it the first 5, but he won on his debut before he'd won anything else. So it kind of shows you that he's always liked the big stage. Yeah, he's won the World Championship twice now. That moves him up a bracket from the guys that won it for the very first time. I think also Jimmy's very impressed by him as well. He calls him the Predator alongside me, and I think he's right. You know, he's a snooker and a winning machine, and very much in the Steve Davis mould, I feel.
OK, Jimmy's opponent, of course, is Mark Williams, 41 years old. He's been playing in the Masters since 1995, although he did miss out in 2014 and 15. In the programme here at Ali Pali, it talks of Mark Williams as possibly the greatest ever Welsh player. Now, of course, there have been some great players, including, of course, 6 times champion of the world, Ray Reardon. Do you rate him as the greatest Welsh player of all time, or not?
Yeah.
It's a horrible question to ask.
Well, you know, I didn't see Reardon. He's a class act, Williams. You know, he's won everything in the game. And I was surprised to see in his head-to-head with Selby, he's 9-6 up. So, you know, listen, he's not scared of anyone, Williams, and he'll be giving it his all. I just think that Selby's, you know, just far too focused and far too confident at the moment. It's going to take someone like O'Sullivan to beat Selby.
Yeah, he has won it, of course, before. He's won it twice, actually. In '98 was an incredible final against Stephen Hendry, beating him on the black 10-9. It must make a difference to a snooker player that they know they go to a venue, a big competition, and they've actually gone all the way and lifted the crown. That must help a player. I
think a great achievement. He's won it twice, but also, as you say, he didn't play in it for a couple of years. He dropped out to 16. The fact that he's got back tells you a lot about what a player he is. And yeah, the head-to-heads to make interesting reading, as you saw there. You know, he's 9-6 up, and I actually do remember a little period of time where I don't think that Mark Selby enjoyed playing him. You know, and they say every match is like a final. These two have played in finals. They played in the final in Shanghai a few years ago, which Selby won that. So I think we can expect a great match.
OK, Mark Williams, certainly one of the greats from Wales, as is Terry Griffiths, who Jimmy just mentioned, the 1980 Masters champion, and we can hear from him now.
Terry, they've asked me to have a chat with you because they tell me you know a little bit about the game. I'm not so sure, but we're going to talk about today's snooker a little bit. I know you've got a man playing tonight in Barry Hawkins. This afternoon's going to be an interesting game, is it? Mark Selby against our old pal Mark Williams. Everything points to Selby, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but on the other hand, you know, Mark Williams is a cage-old guy, and, you know, he keeps saying, you know, he can't beat these top players, but he'd have a good go, I tell you. And also, when he puts a good performance in, they are really good, you know, as good as he used to be, but it's only occasionally now, whereas Selby's a more consistent player. But it's not a certainty, that's for sure.
No, because Mark Williams actually beat John Higgins when he was in Belfast, when Higgins looked unstoppable, so he can still do it. The thing about Mark Selby, he's chasing the chance to have all 3 of the Triple Crown events, you know, on his mantelpiece, you know, being world champion, UK champion, you know, and Masters champion. Some great players have done that before, and that's going to be tough, isn't it?
Well, it is, but after saying that, you know, the likes of Selby and Mark Williams, it does, this tournament turns them on. I mean, it's a different place. It's the top 16. You've got no qualifying rounds, you know. I mean, it's a different place to come, and I think all the players here are finding form.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mark himself held all 3 at the same time, and it kind of takes you from being a brilliant player to one of the greats, I would say. I mean, you've won all 3 in your time as well, but I don't think you won them all at the same time.
No, I wouldn't think I'm a great. Mark Williams actually won 4 in the year, because there was a Grand Prix then. He won that as well. Not in the same year, but afterwards he won the 4 BBC events at that time, you know, which I don't think many people have done that. So he's still an exceptional player. I watched him practicing there now. He doesn't give you anything.
No, and all the pressure's on Mark Selby, isn't it? You know, to win. People think he's going to win, but you're absolutely right. It's not a walkover.
No, it'd be a good match, I think.
Good to speak to you, as ever, Tel.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the greats, Terry Griffiths, who, of course, helps a few players out with their game, just telling them where they're going right and wrong. And you can probably see both players beforehand. Quite unusual, actually, I think, in the practice room. Mark Selby just getting the views of Mark Williams on his dress, making sure that he's tie straight. I think Mark Williams is probably the last person you want to ask if you look good or not. Jimmy, what sort of game can we expect? Because everything points towards a Mark Selby win. Does it point towards an easy win, or do you expect Williams to put up a bit of a battle?
Was he asking him for some chalk there?
I don't know what he was doing there.
Sorry. Go on, mate, sorry.
What sort of game can we expect? Because we all expect Selby to win this on paper, but Williams, of course, will want to put up a battle. Do you see him having much chance if both players are playing to their peak?
As Terry just said, and we've been saying all week, it's such a fantastic tournament, prestige tournament. Mark Williams would be up for this. He'd have put in a lot of practice. There's big money involved. I think Mark Williams, the only chance he's got if his long game's there. If his long game's there, he was one of the best in the world at his long game. If that's there, he can compete. If that's not there, I think Selby just pick him off, and it'd be very difficult for him to win.
OK, a quick word about that Triple Crown you mentioned, because if Mark Selby was to win the Masters, he'd have to win the World Championships this year, because it's all in the same season. It's when it really counts. Davis has done it, Hendry's done it, Williams has done it as well. How much of an achievement would that be in the modern game, do you think, to do it?
I think that's the point. In the modern game, even bigger, because when Davis did it, it was almost a surprise when he didn't win, really. He was a dominant player. It's only the likes of Jimmy and one or two others that really could compete with him. And when Stephen was there, he was exactly the same. He's a totally dominant player, as we know, with all those world titles. Now it doesn't feel like anybody is. And for years, we've been waiting for someone to really sort of break away from the pack. And, you know, if Selby wins this tournament, then he's done that.
OK, all right, boys, for the time being, thanks as always. Reminder that our commentary team for this one are Phil Studd and Joe Johnson. Any questions you've got for any of the boys on social media, use the hashtag AskJimmy. Right, the talking is over. We can hand over to our MC, Rob Walker.